Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the BCP Licensing Subcommittee. The first item on this morning's agenda is the election of chair. Do I have a proposal?
I'll nominate you if I may, please.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
And I'll second you.
Thank you, Councillor Castle. Item 2 on this morning's agenda: to receive any apologies for absence for members.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from Councillor Dower, and thank you for Councillor Moore for filling in as second reserve. Would you like me to go through the housekeeping?
Yes.
Thank you. So please note that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council's website for a minimum of 6 months. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point at the War Memorial in the gardens opposite the front of the building in Bourne Avenue. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones and turning the volume down completely on laptops. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinead. The next item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Can I ask members if they have any declarations for this morning's meeting? Councillor Castle?
I have none.
Thank you. Councillor Williams?
I also have none. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Protocol for public speaking at hearings. A protocol for public speaking at meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee is included within the agenda sheet for noting. Item 5, application for new premises licence for Asda Express PFS, Bath Road, Bournemouth. The Licensing Authority has received an application for a new premises licence for the premises known as Asda Express PFS, which I believe is a petrol filling station in Bath Road, Bournemouth. This matter is brought before the subcommittee for determination. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. I'm Councillor Flagg and I'm the elected chair of this morning's meeting.
Hi, I'm Councillor Castle. I'm on the subcommittee for this morning's meeting.
And I'm Councillor Lawrence Williams.
Thank you, members. We are also joined this morning by Councillors Chaplin, Law and Councillor Moore, who are the reserve members for this meeting. They are not required to participate this morning. However, they will remain to observe for training purposes, but they will not take any part in any of the deliberations. We have Talia Jardim, the licensing officer, Linda Cole, our legal advisor to the subcommittee, Sinead O'Callaghan. That's a slip, isn't it? Freudian slip, that one. Sinead O'Callaghan, I apologise, Sinead. Clerk to the subcommittee, Cecilia Barton from the Democratic Services, who is observing for training purposes this morning. Mr. Richard Taylor, solicitor, representing the applicant, Lucy Johnston, and Mr. Andre and Mrs. Joan Martin. Good morning. Before I run through the procedure, please may I check that all persons who have given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. If there are no comments, I will take this as correct. Thank you. I will now explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. Questions of the licensing officer by all parties, member of the subcommittee to go first. The applicant will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. Other persons will make their representation. Question of other persons, members of the subcommittee to go first. All parties will then be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. I will now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations. And once again, unless anyone indicates otherwise, I will take this as confirmed. Thank you. Finally, please may I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they have already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of parties. And I will now ask the licensing officer to present the report. Tanya.
Thank you, Chair. So Goschalks LLP have made application on behalf of Euro Garages Limited for a new premises licence at the Asda Express petrol filling station on Bath Road, Bournemouth. The premises operate as a petrol filling station and convenience store, and the applicant is seeking to provide late-night refreshment and supply of alcohol for consumption off the premises. The application submitted is to permit the late-night refreshment between 2300 and 0500 hours daily, and for the off-sale supply of alcohol 24 hours daily. The licensing office received 6 representations against the application from local residents on the grounds that granting the application would undermine the 4 licensing objectives. As part of the consultation, mediation took place between the applicant's solicitors and Dorset Police, and the applicant has agreed to reduce the hours for the supply of alcohol to 0600 to 000 hours daily instead of the 24 hours initially applied for. In addition, they agreed 4 extra conditions to be added to the licence should it be granted, and which members will find listed in my report. We received no other representations from any other responsible authorities. For information, these premises have previously had the benefit of a premises licence. However, this was surrendered in 2011. Members are asked to consider whether to grant this application, and should the licence be granted and the applicants fail to operate in accordance with their licence and any conditions attached to it, they will be aware that any responsible authorities or other persons may request a review of the licence at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Do members have any questions for the officer? Councillor Williams.
You mentioned that the premises have previously had a licence. Was there a reason why it was withdrawn in 2011? Your mic's not on.
Apologies. Sorry. I didn't get that information down, but I think they changed hands and then they surrendered the licence. They no longer required it. There's no other reason.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Castle. I have no questions either. Can I therefore ask the applicant to address the committee, please?
Chair, thank you very much indeed. Good morning, and good morning to Sinead. Nothing compares to Sinead. I've been desperate to get that in. Members of the committee, my name's Taylor. I'm a solicitor for Asda, and by way of introduction, you will have seen probably in the press that Asda acquired Euro Garages last year, and Asda is in the process of converting the former Euro Garages shops into Asda Express convenience stores. These premises have already been converted. The petrol hasn't quite gone over to Asda petrol yet, but if you've been, you'll see it's all badged Asda, as you'd expect. And the application is to sell a very limited range alongside the existing convenience store goods. The application was originally 24 hours. We make all of our applications 24 hours where stores are already trading 24 hours, but we had I had a number of conversations with Louise Busfield from the police. She pointed out, or she highlighted some issues in the area that she felt we needed to address, and those are largely the potential problems of street drinking and people coming back from the pub or from the night out and being able to access more alcohol. So we agreed, as we always do, to restrict the hours down to hours that were acceptable to the police, 6 till midnight. and some conditions which I'll come to later, which deal with the type of drinks that people who drink on the street drink. So there is the introduction. I could have probably said, please can we have the license back? But I'll deal with the application in three parts: the application and measures to promote the licensing objectives, and then just a comment on a couple of issues raised in the representations. Well, very quickly, the applicant is Eurogarages. These premises will be operated entirely as an ASDA and subject to all of ASDA's policies, procedures, and training. I'm in a very lucky position. I've acted for ASDA for, well, ever since this legislation came into force. The company has around 1,000 stores now, if we include the Eurogarages estate. And a very proud boast is in the nearly 20 years that I've been acting for ASDA under this legislation, I have never needed to sit before a committee such as this to defend a review. So despite serving millions of customers a week, despite having 1,000 and odd stores, ASDA's proud track record is that everything that it does promotes the licensing objectives, and we've never had to face review. Now, that's not to say things have never gone wrong. They do, because they're bound to. But we always work with the authorities, and we've never been in that position. And that has to be testament to the quality of ASDA's policies, procedures, and its training. The application, well, as I say, it is simply to add the ability to stock the odd bottle of wine, pack of beers, alongside the existing and expanding convenience range. This store has already traded for 24 hours for, we believe, 20 years. The current area manager has been involved for 18, and she tells me that it's been 24 hours ever since she's been involved with it, and she thinks it was before that, and that's as far as we can get back. And as far as the alcohol is concerned, it is a limited range, but you know where this is. That there are hotels everywhere. There's significant demand from people who don't want to pay hotel prices, who come into the shop and say, have you got a bottle of wine? And that's evenings. Largely there's people who are doing their morning shops on the way to work, on the way back, whatever it is. But there's demand from between, we believe, 6 to midnight. Hence the hours that we've agreed with Louise. The hours that were acceptable to Louise. We wanted a lot more, but we don't upset PC Busfield. As far as late night refreshments is concerned, that is limited to hot drinks only. There is a coffee machine. There is no proposal to do food or anything like that. That is pure coffee machine. The steps to promote the licensing objectives, everything that you'd expect from a major operator. And everything you'd expect from a big store. Just because this is a small store, it actually gets more steps, in fairness. So we've got full digital CCTV, we've got full staff training. That staff training is refreshed regularly. In the convenience stores, spirits, and high value products are placed behind the counter. We don't do miniatures. We don't sell anything that would appeal to street drinkers. We don't do large bottles of white ciders. We don't do the high strength, often European brands, anything like that. We don't sell ports because apparently street drinkers are moving towards ports and sherries. So we simply don't want to do it. Challenge 25, obviously, that's supported by till prompts, like any ASDA. And ASDA operates independent test purchasing. It engages the services of a firm who sends in 18, 19, 20-year-olds to ensure that the colleagues implement their age verification training. And it's a disciplinary offence if they don't. So as I say, during the course of the application, we spoke with Louise and we agreed that no single cans above 6.5% ABV. Again, the sort of thing that appears to street drinkers. There's a little caveat in there because there's certain products that might just sneak above if they're sort of craft and artisan products from local providers. But they're premium price. Those are not the sort of things that appeal. There's nothing sort of cheap and high volume. No single cans, no spirits under 70 centilitres here. Again, it's all aimed at ensuring that if you want a bottle of spirits, you're buying a big one, you're not going out and drinking it on the street. A night hatch between 10 PM, sorry, and 6 AM. And this is all sort of squarely aimed at avoiding street drinking issues whilst providing ASDA the opportunity to serve the customers that do want to buy and consume responsibly, the odd bottle of wine, whatever it is. So just turning to the representations, the first thing to say is these premises have been licensed before. And Councillor, you asked exactly the question that I would have asked Tanya to confirm, which is these premises didn't lose their license due to any problems. These premises voluntarily gave it back. Now, that was some time ago, but what we know is that there were no issues such that would lead to review, as we talked about earlier. The backdrop to the representations, we've discussed all of this with the police. There's no representation from the police, environmental health, or indeed any of the responsible authorities. We've seen in the list of, in the representations, concerns about increases in antisocial behaviour. Well, all of the steps we're taking are aimed firmly at avoiding that. And of course, those concerns aren't shared by the police. And we know, that if the police have concerns, they would very definitely be able to tell us about them. Noise nuisance. Well, what I would say to that is, well, these premises are already open 24 hours a day. It's difficult to work out how the display of a bottle of wine on a shelf will increase the noise. Drink driving, we see this a lot, but it doesn't really stand up to any scrutiny at all. Look at any Asda, Tesco's, Morrison's, they've all got huge car parks. The fact that somebody may drive to a premises doesn't then automatically follow that they will consume their purchases immediately in the car once they walk out. It just doesn't happen. There's no evidence to suggest that at all. As far as the representations are concerned, I think I've exhausted what I needed to say. The interesting one is the first one on page 39. Xuan Lang says what we need here is to avoid, to work out a solution where we can avoid problems of late night alcohol while still serving customers. I haven't quoted it exactly, but that's exactly what we're doing. And so, members of the committee, unless you have any questions of me, then, or indeed Lucy Johnston, who's ASDA's licensing manager, who sits next to me, then those are the submissions on behalf of Euro Garages, who will trade as ASDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Do members have any questions for Mr. Taylor?
Not at the moment, I don't know.
No, I think it's covered it thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. I just have one quick question. It's just for clarification, really. When you are using the hatch in the evenings, is the hatch of sufficient size to pass a large cup of hot coffee through without spilling it, sort of thing?
It's exactly the conversation we had last night, and the answer is yes. The hatches are designed. The hatches are clearly there for security reasons and to protect the staff as much as anything else. And over time, hatches have got bigger as premises no longer are concentrating necessarily on petrol, but on the convenience side. It needs to be big enough to get a box of cornflakes through it and things. So yes, they are now big enough to get things through. Previously, no, it was a matter of a credit card or cash underneath. But you're absolutely right. Yes, they are.
Okay. Thank you. Do our other parties have any questions for Mr. Taylor at all at this point? Okay, thank you. Now I invite you to address the committee, please.
Thank you very much. My name's Andre Martin. I'm a owner of a flat within Amberley Court, which is the adjacent residential property of 9 floors of 33 residential flats. Amberley Court has in its design a carport area. I didn't forward in my previous electronic communications any map of the place, but if I just pass you that, the hatched area shows where we have the problem of, I'll just use the word vagrancy. Vagrancy includes drug usage, trash of alcohol bottles and needles being left on the ground. We've recently had a case of human excreta left there. And generally it's been a long-term problem. It's nothing new to us. And it's not a nighttime event. So the applicants focus on changing their application to highlight, oh, we'll reduce alcohol consumption at night, is totally irrelevant, because we get groups of drug users coming in during the day. They tend to come in there, when I've noticed them, in dodgy weather, because it's a nice sheltered area. I also reject the applicant's suggestion that it meets the objectives of the licensing application, sorry, of the licensing. In my opinion, I think it will increase crime, because any type of alcohol is likely to be attractive. We rarely get individuals. They come in pairs or groups, and as I say, I've seen 5 in there. So let's share a bottle of 75 centilitre 50% alcohol, and so the applicant's suggestion we're only selling big bottles, to me, makes it worse, not better. So that's it's the general principle of there being alcohol there, not the type, not the size, not the quality, not whether it's a spirit or whether it's wine. I also mentioned in my previous submissions that I've personally picked up wine bottles. I'm just trying to show a photo of, get to it. It's the previous photos. Oh, this is a photo.
Mr. Martin, has any of this information been sent to us already?
All of this, apart from that, you can keep that.
Yeah. What about the photograph?
No, I only took this a couple of days ago. The photo could.
Can I just speak?
Yes.
Just to let you know, anything that we are going to consider in a hearing should have been disclosed, or at least we could share that information.
Yes.
With the applicant. So we can only include it today if the applicants are happy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just
that situation. I mean, it might well be that he has to see the photo to see if he's going to be happy, but
I have no objection to Mr. Martin showing you a bottle, an empty bottle of wine that he's found. I mean, he's already told you that he's found it. Do we need to see?
all right.
And you know, I think all we can say is, well, you know, it certainly didn't come from us.
well, you're not selling it at the moment, so.
So this was a photo that is directly opposite our entrance door. It's a bottle of an empty bottle of rosé wine. I am convinced in my own mind it was not thrown there by a resident, but it was thrown there by someone using us as a pedestrian transit to somewhere. It's about 15 to 20 seconds between the SO garage and this open carport area. We have in the past applied for planning application, and I mentioned that in my documentation, for a security fence, and that was thrown out. And I understand the planning authority's reason for throwing it out, saying primarily we can never put a security gate to genuinely keep people out that we don't want in, because it's not, quote, in keeping, unquote, with the flavour of Bath Road, because it's all this low railing style all the way down the road. So I think that's true. If the planning the planning authorities won't allow a security gate, which is out of style with the rest of the road, we're never going to get a security gate. And that's really it. The actual location where the drug users dump their needles and their wine and beer bottles is the location of in the carport allocated to a family with children. So the mother is very unhappy that on occasion she's gone down to her car with the children and found all this detritus next to her car door. So in summary, my objection is not what type of alcohol, at what time. It's the simple principle of additional alcohol sales 15 to 20 seconds away from where vagrants use our carport as their meeting place and to conduct what I believe is on occasions criminal activity as well. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Did you wish to address the? Okay, thank you. Members. Mr. Martin, are you able to just clarify for the committee whereabouts on this map you applied for we
applied. No, the application was for a complete security system right the way round. So
right.
that would be a gate on the Bath Road entrance as well as the Jervis Road entrance. So it was both. It was a fence. It's low-level brickwork on Jervis Road, so that the application was to put a chain link fence on top of the brickwork to take it up to beyond 6 feet. The application in the front side, I don't remember whether it was high-level bushes, but again, it was a gate at least 6 feet tall. And the application was refused.
Thank you for that. Did members have any questions?
Not from me at the moment.
Councillor Williams?
No, none from me, thank you.
I'd like to just ask Mr. Martin, how many times have you complained to the local police with regards to what I would term in a general as antisocial behaviour?
I've only been living there for 2 years. I'm not one of the directors who would have been involved when complaints have been made. So I've only got the answer to that through hearsay. I don't know how many times, but it's certainly happened more than once. And from one of the directors, the answer, when I sort of generally chatted with him, he said, oh, the police came, we complained again, but they then said, we're not coming back until you get proper security. So we don't bother call the police anymore, having, as far as I know, having received this answer. So because we can't physically keep them out, it's a sort of catch-22. The planning application authorities say, you've got to let them in because we're not letting you put a security gate up. And the police say, we're not interested because you haven't got a security gate.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Martin. Councillor Williams.
Are you aware that the council have an antisocial unit that you could call on? And if you aren't, I'm sure somebody here will provide you with a contact.
No, I personally wasn't aware. I don't know whether our committee or our directors rather, or our managing agent is aware, but I'll mention that. Well, and can I ask them, what does an antisocial unit actually do?
Well, they actually work in conjunction with the police, but you need to talk to them and they'll tell you what their powers are.
Good, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Williams. Are there any further questions at all? Do officers have any questions?
No, I don't know, Mr. Chair, did you want to see this map again?
Okay, if there are no further questions, could I invite Mr. Martin to sum up with regards to your representation to the committee? But please, don't repeat yourself, but if there's anything that you forgot or that you wish to just bring to our attention, we'd be grateful to hear it. Mr. Martin.
Okay, well, just in summary, the criminality is not a nighttime, daytime thing. And typically it happens, in my experience, as much during the day as during the night. My objection is the principle of alcohol being sold definitely less than 30 seconds walk from a residential block of 33 flats that, unfortunately, due to its design, cannot seal its perimeter from those that shouldn't be present on the property. Alcohol was available 24 hours a day, 300 metres down the road at the top of Old Christchurch Road, with the off licences that have already been licensed down there. And thus the person who wants some alcohol, I'm asking the committee to say, well, they'll just have to walk 300 metres to get it from Old Christchurch Road.
Okay, thank you very much for that, your input this morning. Mr. Taylor, would you like to sum up at all?
Very briefly, if I may, Chair. Thank you. I'll start with 4 bits of the guidance, the Home Office guidance, the latest version issued December 2023. And the first where I'd like to start is with paragraph 10.15, which says this: shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons based on the licensing objectives for restricting those hours. So that's what the Home Office says. And of course, we've considered whether or not there are good reasons for restricting the hours through our conversations. The next part of the guidance I'd like to refer to, paragraph 9.43, which says basically any determination needs to be evidence-based. The next, 9.12, each officer of the responsible authorities should be regarded as an expert in their respective field. And finally, paragraph 2.1, which says the police should be a licensing committee's main source of advice on issues of crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour. Now, Mr. Martin can disagree, but that's what the Home Office guidance says. So against all of that backdrop, is there any evidence that we've heard today for either restricting the hours further or not granting this at all? Well, the evidence in my respectful submission points all one way, and it's this. Firstly, we have a large major operator with vast experience and a spotless track record. Secondly, this company demonstrably working in partnership with the authorities, which has agreed a robust package of measures to promote the licensing objectives, exactly what we're required to do. Third, no representations from any of the responsible authorities, who are, as we know, experts in their individual fields. And fourth, is there any evidence whatsoever that the display of a bottle of wine to take away will cause a problem here, or whether or not it's done so elsewhere? Now, the Home Office guidance is very clear about what happens away from premises. I accept wholly that Mr. Martin has a problem, but this is a planning issue, it's a drug issue. There are solutions to this, but the solution isn't to refuse a perfectly good, well-made application to which the responsible authorities have no objection. What is going to change if this store is able to sell the odd bottle of wine or pack of beers to that holiday maker in one of those hotels? Remember, all of those conditions are designed in conjunction with the police to ensure that we do not sell the type of thing that appeals to street drinking people. We're doing what we can to address the concerns that the police have, which are voiced by Mr. Martin. So I'll finish where I started, really. Said what's going to change. The answer is very, very little. The solutions are elsewhere. It is the antisocial behaviour team. It is planning. There are ways through this, but it's not refusing the licence. If you don't grant the licence in the terms sought, you have found, as a matter of fact, on the evidence that you've heard, that the responsible authorities were effectively wrong not to object. And that cannot be right. So I will finish where we started, which is effectively, please can we have the licence back? The evidence is that it was surrendered. It wasn't lost due to any problems. And we will do what we can, if there's anything at all, to assist Mr. and Mrs. Martin and the residents of Amberley Court. I don't know what we can do, but we can certainly talk to them and we can see what we can do. Certainly, I think pointing them in the direction of the ASB team is exactly the right thing to do. This is low-level stuff which needs to be addressed properly. Thank you very much, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I will now conclude the hearing. At the end of this meeting, the subcommittee will adjourn in private with the legal advisor and clerk to deliberate. All parties may now leave and the decision will be conveyed to you in writing as explained earlier.